Once again, Alligator here. Today I got Dhani back with me today. We're gonna discuss a subject that's close to both of our hearts: the American flag. Now I know some of you are saying, what's there to talk about the flag? Is it either feel this way or that way about it? Well, there's a lot to talk about. So in other words, actually I'm thinking of this right now, that if I'm going to do that, I think we need to do a little patriotic music, I think. So let's do something like this. Let's try something like this, okay? As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. Dhani, below me a golden valley.
Hey, how you doing, Dad?
This song was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. I roam and ramble, followed my footsteps through the golden sands of her diamond desert. Let me tell you, when all around me a voice was calling, this land was made for you and me. One more time. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. One more time. Hey. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me.
Hey, good to be back here on the podcast, Dad. Always a pleasure.
Sure enough. Yep. Our schedules sometimes just don't meet.
We cherish the moments when they do, I tell you.
Yes. Now, our discussion today is about the American flag.
Okay.
Now, give me your feelings about the flag, though.
So, the American flag is something, I tell you, it's something that shouldn't be controversial, like you said, but it's something that is, and I think that's a real problem in America today. When there's one side of the political spectrum that has somehow claimed the flag, and another side of the political spectrum that somehow sees the flag as associated with negativity and bad things that our country is associated with, which, let's just get this out of the way. Love America, huge patriot. There's things we've done that we maybe should have done a little differently, but we're still the greatest country, in my opinion, on the face of the world, and I'm proud of that, the fact that I feel that way. But the American flag being controversial is a problem. And it's not just a problem with the left. It's not just a problem with people that don't agree with it. It's also a problem because it's become associated with certain things that America should never be associated with. It walks hand in hand with the Confederate flag, which to me doesn't make any sense. It walks hand in hand sometimes with Nazi flags and Nazi memorabilia. And that's something that also shouldn't be accepted. You know what I'm saying? So I see a real problem in America not standing for what America should stand for in the eyes of a lot of people.
The flag is like the Constitution. It's a promise. The flag is a promise. The Constitution is a promise. And that promise is that one day this nation will evolve to where we are actually living up to the words in the Constitution and what that flag waving is supposed to mean. Now, I've heard all of the arguments of, well, you know, the flag is a symbol of this and the flag is a symbol of that. And then, you know, people say, well, the flag was a symbol of this and blah, blah, blah. But it was also, during the Civil War, it was that flag that rode down from the North to end a cruel injustice. And it was that flag that has flown over many conflicts and many triumphs and many tragedies that we've had in this country.
Flew in Germany in 1945 to end some really terrible things. Like you said, during the Civil War to end one of the biggest blights in America. It's flown for freedom, not just in our country, but for other countries who may not have the means to protect themselves. And I agree, it does stand for a promise, you know, that all men are created equal and they have the same right to life, property, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think that's what it should stand for. Now, unfortunately, what I've seen a lot of folks associated with is oppression, or, you know, it's the flag that flies just for the white male property owner or something like that. But just like the Constitution can change over time, what the flag stands for and the country represents can change over time. You know, I forget who it was, you maybe remember, who said the flag should be, or excuse me, the Constitution should be reworded every 12 years, I mean. And while that may not be practical, I do believe that the Constitution should change to reflect the people that it protects. And similarly, the image of the flag changes to represent the people it protects. Now, let me ask you this, Dad. How do you feel the flag should be treated? Do you think the flag is something everyone should stand and salute? Or do you think that people have a little more autonomy than that?
Well, you see, me coming from out of the 40s and 50s, when the flag was a part of everyday life, you know. Now, I'm not saying that I really am not very much up on a lot of the little laws about the flag and stuff like that. A lot of it doesn't make too much sense to me. But what I feel about the flag is this. I discussed it with a friend of mine, right-leaning friend of mine. I said, I respect the flag. I have many things I have done. I've done under that flag. But when I see people burning the flag or desecrating the flag, I do not like it. And there was a time in my life probably when I would have acted differently. I do not like it. But on the other side, I respect the fact that they live in a country where they have the right to do that. Okay? You know, the flag, like the Constitution, is a promise. It really is. We have never lived up to the Constitution that we have. When you say all men are created equal, we know that in certain instances that is not true. But it has gotten better and better as time goes on.
Yes.
The struggle continues. I myself have always wondered while a lot of movements that actually movements for justice, that flag should be at the front of every rally, no matter what your rally is.
That's the truth.
The flag should be at every rally, especially for injustice. That's what that flag is supposed to stand for.
Yeah.
You know, not for any injustices that has been associated with it in the past. The flag this country is still becoming. It's still a promise. Okay?
You know, I will say, in my past, I've been out in some of those protests. Not necessarily to lead them or anything like that, but because I think it's important to be on the forefront of the things that are happening, and especially for something I believe in, like, you know, justice for all. You know, I think it's important to be there if you're able and if you're safe to, which I thought I was at the time. And I didn't see any American flags. I saw a lot of other flags, all saying good things, but I didn't see any American flags, and I had a little problem with that. The biggest problem I have with that is, you know, I've asked a lot of folks out there and just in personal life who happen to lean a little far left, and I asked them if they're a patriot, and generally they say yes, but a good percentage of them, a larger percentage than I would have thought, say no. They say, "Oh, I'm not a patriot. I'm not proud to be a part of this country or whatnot," and not because they don't like America necessarily, but just because they see all these things that they want to change, and they think, "Oh, I can't be a patriotism until I see these things that change." And you know what I say to that? I say that's the definition of patriotism. You know what I'm saying? Being so in love with the country that you want to go out and make it better and rework in your image and fix the faults that it may have. I think that is what patriotism is. To want to go out and be a voice for folks that maybe don't have a voice, or, you know, represent something wrong that you see and fight for change and fight to make your country better, it seems like the definition of patriotism to me. And unfortunately, that word, as well as the flag, the American flag, have not been associated with these positive changes that we see. But the 13th Amendment, the right for women to vote, the right for all these wonderful things to happen in our country that didn't happen before, has only served to make our country a greater place to live. And I think of all those people as patriots. And I think throughout the majority of history, up until very recently, the people who were fighting for change were doing it in the name of America. And they were patriots, and they considered themselves as such. Would you agree?
Yes. A true patriot believes in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in the dream for that dream to even manifest itself. I have always had a problem also with seeing this precious flag that I absolutely adore.
Mm-hmm.
At rallies, I was talking with, you know me, and most people who know me know one thing about me. I'm not right wing, nor am I left wing. When I say that, I mean I'm not extreme on either side. To me, either side of the extreme is a little too much for me.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I think a big reason we have so much political discord, so much political tension, is because that moderate percentage of the population, though most people still are somewhere in the middle, their voices get a little bit drowned out because the exciting people on both sides make those 30-second headlines, they make the 24-hour news cycle. You know, you can take a little 30-second snippet of somebody saying something crazy and a lot of people are going to look at it. And so it seems like those sides of the population are the majority, but in reality they're the largest. I think most folks fall somewhere in moderate, you know, whether slightly left of center, slightly right of center. But unfortunately, those folks that are extreme, they got a lot more airtime because it sounds a little crazier. But continue, just a little aside.
They used to have a saying in the South when I was growing up, back when we were still, you know, with the horses and mules, you know.
Back before God made water?
Back before we got all of the machines, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That an empty wagon makes a lot of noise. Now you can take that and stew with it for a while and see what that actually means. The thing is, when I see rallies and people are rallying against any kind of injustice or anything, and I don't see the American flag, it really, really disturbs me. It really does, really disturbs me. And what disturbs me even more than that is when I see the American flag and people marching with it. People use the word patriotism a lot, and they use the word God a lot. When I see people marching with the American flag, and they're marching lockstep with Confederate battle flags, and I've even seen Nazi flags at these rallies. Just about any rally I can think of besides the fringe rallies. Fringe, I say. If someone were marching at a rally and they looked up and saw a Confederate battle flag or a Nazi insignia or something, they would stop in the middle of the thing, stunned, and go, "What the heck are you doing here?" Mm-hmm. But then we got one fringe group that has rallies full of flags, but they march lock and step with Nazi insignia. They don't mind it. They don't stop. They don't question it. I don't think that flag, the American flag and the Confederate battle flag, Nazi flags, or any of those type of things,
shouldn't be anywhere near.
Where do you reconcile that? You know, our flag should be sacred. Our flag should be sacred, and I want Americans to really realize that the flag is a promise. It's a symbol, and it's not a symbol of oppression. You know, you can make it that if you want, but it's not a symbol of oppression. It is a promise. The Constitution is not a symbol of oppression. It is definitely a promise. If you can't say you want to march for democracy and do things and say things that are entirely undemocratic.
That's
and when
true.
You say, "I march for God," and you do and say things entirely the opposite of what Jesus Christ would taught. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with all of that. We have to bring that flag back to its prominence and look up to it as what it is, a symbol of where we want to go, a symbol of where we would like the world to go, a place of true democracy where all people are created equally, have the same opportunities.
Have the same rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of
happiness. Yes. Now, the problems that we have with, like I said, I'm not left and I'm not right. When it comes to crime and certain things that we have to deal with in this country, I think we should deal very harshly with. I mean, come on, this stuff is really getting out of hand. There's many things that we have to deal with, but we have to deal with it as Americans. Right now, over the past 5 years, the division between just plain Americans has been absolutely shocking. Mm. I never thought that would happen in this country. I've seen it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but before this thing started, our intelligence agency released a report warning us that our enemies were going to be trying to divide us along racial lines, trying to cast doubt on our electoral system, and they warned us also of the whole gaslighting thing where people are just running around saying crazy stuff, because if you tell a lie over and over and over and over again to a whole segment of people, it becomes the truth, because they somehow decide not to be bright enough to go check it themselves to find out.
I do like to say we live in the age of information, but we also live in an age of oversaturation of information. And if you just look at one source of news or one source of anything, it becomes an echo chamber. People say the same things. You hear them. The people you talk to, if they agree with you, you'll talk to them. If they don't, you think they're crazy. And then all of a sudden, you're only hearing one viewpoint. And what makes it difficult to live in the society we live in today is there's so much information out there, but it's not necessarily difficult to figure out what's true and what's false, but it takes effort. It takes an honest, concerted effort to go and see what's really going on in the world. And if you just listen to one side of the news, you're not going to get the full picture. A good real world example I have of this was I went to some protests. I was just out there seeing what was going on, and there was a little bit of an altercation between the police and the protesters, as there sometimes is. This was back in March, April of 2020. I think we remember how much political unrest there was at the time. Outside of all that, I see the protesters were moving down this block, and a bunch of people were parked in their cars, waiting for everything to pass. And there was people going down and offering bottles of water to the people that were stuck, making sure that everyone was okay, not having any sort of emergency. But this one person who was sitting in a car starts arguing with the protesters and saying a bunch of things, and they're going back and forth, and all of a sudden this woman puts it in drive and runs over a young lady with a bike. Now, she was all right. She was okay. She probably didn't feel too good for a couple weeks, but somehow, miraculously, she was fine. She runs over the person in the car, runs over a person on a bike, gets pulled out at gunpoint by some officers, gets immediately arrested, and seeing as a bunch of already angry people just saw one of their own get ran over, the protesters set it on the car and started beating it with like skateboards and sticks and whatever they could find and mess the car up. Now, was that right? Probably not.
That was stupid.
Was the person that ran over the person right? Probably not. But it's a series of events that makes sense if you look at it in a full context, right? Now, I went online and I found a video of the whole series of events. Somebody's recording a woman yelling out the window of a car, right? You can see the whole car, nobody hits the car, nothing. She decides to put it in park and get out of there, runs over the person, gets pulled out at gunpoint by the cops, and then everyone descends on the car. Then I see clips from that same video where it's just people descending on a car, edited out all the things before, all the things after, like protesters in the streets of California going crazy for no reason, committing random acts of violence on people's property. And then I see a picture of, I see another clip from the same video of the woman running over a bike, a protester on a bike, saying, anti-protesters being violent for no reason. And in reality, you see it's an altercation, it escalates, and then the result of that were people messing up the car. None of these things are right, but if you take clips of this video, you can direct the narrative out. And if somebody were just watching one of the sites, they'd think all the protesters were committing random acts. Somebody was just watching the other site, they'd think all the people that were against the protests were being violent. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to manipulate these things if you don't go out and see what the full story is. And only because I was there and because I was doing a little research would I have seen all of what's going on. So that's just my warning to you. That's just a personal anecdote, but we all know it happens all the time. Go and see the full story. And if you're getting your news from just one source, you're probably not getting the full picture. Would you agree that's fair, Pops?
Yeah, I was talking with a friend of mine, a wonderful friend. The good thing about me, I've talked with a lot of people the last so many years who say, I have friends now. I mean, many people have told me this. I have friends and we don't even talk anymore because the political divide. We don't even speak anymore. I can't talk with them. And that has not happened to me with one friend. I have friends who are like me in the middle, and I have friends far right and friends far left. Mm-hmm. And I haven't lost one friend because I disagree with them. I haven't lost one friend. I was talking with one of my friends who is sort of right-leaning, and he said something. I was disagree with him on something, and he said, he sent me a text. He says, you know what you need to do? He says, you need to get your head out of CNN and watch Fox News. And it was the oddest little thing. So I emailed him back. I said, my friend, how long have you been knowing me? Don't you know me better than that? I said, you know what I do? I said, you probably watch Fox News all the time. I said, but you know what I do? I watch Fox News, then I watch CNN, I watch the BBC News, I watch the French news, I watch Australian news, I watch news around the world.
Maybe a little all his ear just to get a.
And why do I do that? And I said, why do I do that? I said, because I think it's sensible. I said, then after I watch all that news, I go and fact check everything.
Yep.
People have probably heard me say that about this fact checking thing. I'm not pushing any one company, but the only one I know about is Google Fact Check. And the reason I'm so into that for getting information is because nobody ever detests what these people say. Nobody sues them. They cause, if some politician says this or that, or blah blah blah, and you go find it, fact check it, they will tell you the truth.
Yeah, and they'll show you where the truth is too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should do that. Everybody should do that. I mean, I was telling somebody just the other day about a politician who said something, and once I explained to them that what he said was actually true, and when I explained the whole thing, they saw that what he said was worse than a lie, because he was deliberately leaving out all of the pertinent information and using one slogan to push his.
Yes, I hear this all the time.
His thing.
Here's a good example of that I know about specifically. I hear this stat happen all the time, and if you take this out of context, it sounds really bad. But in reality, there's so much more information that comes with this that it might as well be a lie, right? That stat is, a lot of people like to pull this up. 13% of the population commit 50% of the violent crimes in America. And that's, of course, referring to black folks, right? Now, that is true, but it's not. And the reason why I say that is 13% of the population are convicted of 50% of the crimes. Now, if you look into people who are found out to be wrongly convicted, and specifically if you look at folks who are originally tried for a crime, 13% do about 13% of the violent crimes. Now, a lot of folks who go to court over a crime, they have their pleas talked down to some misdemeanor, something that's less violent, or they have really good lawyers that get out of stuff. We've seen in the news a lot of things recently that go in that track. But if you don't have real nice lawyers, or you don't get the benefit of the doubt, chances are you're not going to have your sentence brought down, and you're not going to have your plea deal be all sweet, and you're going to get convicted even if you didn't do it, or if you did do it and you have the money to fight it, you won't get convicted. You know what I'm saying? So that stat, 13% commit 50% of the crime, that is a lie. If you say 13% of the population are convicted of roughly 50% of the crimes, that's partially true. But if you take a step back and you look at the total people who are indicted for these crimes, you'll see it.
The picture changes.
The picture changes. And then when you start adding in things like socioeconomic classes, population-dense areas, metropolis or the ghetto, quote-unquote, and you really start looking at the full picture, you'll see that this group of people doesn't disproportionately commit these acts compared to other folks in their socioeconomic classes in the similar cities. If you take all these things into account, it really isn't different if you're black or white or Latino or Asian or whatever the case is. But if you look at this very specific stat that's taken out of context and you reword it a little bit, people hear that and they believe it, or people start arguing against it and say, oh, blah, 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 it's because of this, it's because of that. But in reality, if you look deeper into it, it's a blatant lie. Just because you say something that is part true doesn't mean it is true. You know what I'm saying? Like I could say, I can get into a bunch more examples of this, but that's one very common, real way to see that if you're only listening to half of the truth, you're not getting the actual truth.
Yeah, that's done a lot. I wish I could tell the politician's name who's still walking around with his chest thumping, saying this saying that lie
Mm-hmm.
that I talked about. But I don't want to be calling people. I do. Most people would probably know who that is anyway. You know, the let's get back to the flag. I really want to stress on America. The American flag is something we should all rally around. Right, left, middle, whatever. You know, the flag and the Constitution, let that unite us as Americans. You know that there's nothing like the American Constitution ever in history. You know, the Constitution is a promise. It's a promise that when that flag waves to the free world, that's it. When the American flag waves, that's the flag that truly represents the free world. And unfortunately, there are elements in this country that seem to be wanting to move away from freedom, from democracy, as we know it. But the best thing that we as Americans can do at this point is remember this one thing. Don't let anyone tell you that big lie that your vote doesn't count.
Yep.
Don't. That has been perpetuated in many areas of this country, in certain neighborhoods, for generations and generations. Don't buy that. Your vote does count. And believe me, we all need to vote because there are segments of our society that would rather us not vote. Okay? Be very, very vigilant with that. No matter what the hardships are, no matter what we have to go through, it is well worth. In fact, your survival depends upon voting.
That's the truth. Other thing I'd like to say before we get too far, much further past it, is on the topic of the American flag. If you are going out and looking to make change in your country, as you should, as is our God-given right, to be the ability to go out and protest, where in certain countries today you can't. We couldn't have this sort of conversation about political discourse. You couldn't say, hey, you know, our country's good, but we can make it better. But if you're going out and making it better, bring the American flag with you. Do it in the name of our country, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this place better for us, for future generations. And one way to go do that is by going out and, you know, making change and being a voice for the people. And the other way to do it is by voting. Both are very important. And if you do go out, fly the flag. And if you do go out with the flag and you see somebody having some anti-American thing, like any Nazi paraphernalia or any sort of Confederate paraphernalia, in my opinion, it's not about states' rights, and I think we can all agree on that. It's the only time it was ever flown in the Capitol building was during the January 6th insurrection. It wasn't supposed to be there, and it will hopefully never be there again. All right? So go out and vote. Go out and support those people who are trying to make a change, and go make a change for yourself. Do it in the name of America. Fly the flag while you're doing it. That's my recommendation. And now that I've sat and thought about it more, if I'm going to go out and make some changes and be a voice for folks who maybe aren't confident enough to go out there and be a voice themselves, I'm going to bring the flag with me. Because I'm a patriot, and the most patriotic thing you can do, in my opinion, is to go and make a change and make the place around you better for your friends, for your family, and for the future generations. All right? Hey, now, this has been a little bit of a heavy podcast. It's important stuff to talk about, you know, but let's lighten it up with a little bit of music and have ourselves a good time. How's that sound, Bob?
Let's see what we can do. Here we go. Here's a souped up version here.
must be some kind of way out of here. Hey, said the Joker to the thief. There's so much confusion, I can't get no relief, yeah. Hey, businessman, they steal my wine, yeah. Climb and dip my earth. No one can level on the vine. Nobody of that is worth, yeah.
No reason to get excited.
Hey.
The thief he kindly spoke. There are too many here among us
Tell me.
who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, you know we've been through all of that, yeah.
Yeah, we have.
And this is not our fate.
No.
So let us not talk falsely now, y'all. The hour is getting late. The hour is getting late.
Hey. Should I tell him, Bob? All along the watchtower, princess kept a view. As all the women, yes, they came, they went. Barefoot soldiers too. Outside in the cold distance, yeah. Wildcat did growl. Wow, wow. Hey, two riders were approaching, and the wind began to howl, yeah. One more time.
The watchtower.
All along 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 the watchtower. Yeah.
All along the watchtower.
All along the watchtower. Yeah.
Hope you've enjoyed us.
Hey.
Listen, hope we gave people something to think about. I know a lot of you are not going to agree with us on the flag, but it was just something that I felt strongly, and so did Dhani, that we wanted to speak about it. And those of you who do understand, try to help your brothers and sisters to realize, like I say, the flag and the Constitution are both promises. They're the dreams that we will continue to work toward.
And the flag, like the Constitution, it can change over time. And the things it represented 200 years ago, 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, it doesn't fly over those things. It flies over what we represent today. We are the country, and we make the changes that happen, and we help it to progress. And how we do it is we keep having conversations like this, and we keep going out and vote.
You know, the past is good to look back, but sometimes I think we need to get our heads out of the past. You know, right now is what we need to focus on. Listen, I hope we didn't bore you guys too much. We're going to see you next time. This is...
We got any sponsors for this episode, Pops?
Oh, that's right. Yes, indeed. We must remember that if you're in Monterey on the second Saturday of every month, Elroy's Bonton Lighthouse Smokehouse is where I reside. Our whole court there. Every second Saturday night. We always like to throw out a call to the Tall Man Hotel and the Blue Wing Saloon in Upper Lake, California. You guys should make a run down there, and it's It's just a great place. The Monday night blues jams are absolutely out of this world. That's in Upper Lake, California. The Tall Man Hotel, which also has in its vicinity the Blue Wing Saloon, which is a part of the hotel. Now, if you're in Corte Madera, the second Friday of the month, I am doing an outdoor concert at the Cafe Verde Pizzeria in Corte Madera. And that's from 6 to 8, 2-hour concert. God bless each and every one of you. Keep you happy, keep you smiling. We'll see you next time. Happy trail.